Welcome everybody. This is a very exciting occasion. There are some of my dear friends are here, and it's really fun. It's beyond just wonderful. It's fun too, and wonderful. Gosh, I'm having like a major hot flash, and I don't get them. Anyway, I don't think it's a hot flash. Maybe Kundalini. So I just want to invite you all to this talk. It is Enjah's first talk in this setting on the Tree of Life. She has studied for a really long time and is well versed in this subject. She has studied for 30 years with the tarot, a deep study. I've studied this same study for 3 years. She has a lot, really, she's brilliant. She's my sister, so I'm going to brag a little bit about her. She's brilliant. I've known her since I was born, and she has a magnificent mind and has a really incredible ability to bring this kind of information to us in a way that's packed, jam-packed, but also very understandable and very accessible. So for about the first 20 to 30 minutes, she's going to give us a presentation on the tree. At that point, please, or any point, if you have any questions and you want to put them in text, you're certainly welcome to. If you have any questions and you want to speak. Anyway, so type a 1 in the text and I will call on you. Take it away, Enjah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome, Oihu.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Enjah, and I'm a student of the Western Mysteries or Hermetic Kabbalah. I am a fellow seeker sharing knowledge that comes from that tradition. The Tree of Life is a very old diagram of the universe and the human body. Many representations of trees are found in ancient stone carvings and murals. Here are some examples. This one is from Egypt. That first one was in the UK, about 2,000 years old, a stone that was carved with an image of a tree with some circles on it, which I thought was very interesting. This one is from Egypt. You can see that there are Egyptian gods on either side of a tree, and at the trunk is someone who probably is a pharaoh. This one is a drawing of a bas-relief carving from Babylon, or Babylonia, I guess I should say, ancient Babylon. This is a carved, again, a bas-relief in a wall that, thank you, Kara, a bas-relief in a wall from Indonesia of a tree with some gods or some other figures. This one is from India. So the tree is a very common image in ancient carved images. Human beings have compared the human body to a tree for thousands of years. The cardiovascular system and the nervous system are clearly formed in shapes resembling trees. The Middle East is a cultural crossroads, and Judaism was influenced by many traditions, including the ancient wisdom of India. The flower of life has been in human artifacts for thousands of years, and here's one from Sumeria. Now this is the tree of life superimposed on the flower of life so that you can actually see the origin of the shape of the tree of life. I'll make it wider temporarily. See, it's a circle. It's a collection of circles that intersect, and then the Sephiroth are drawn on the intersections between the circles. It's formed by interlacing circles, and it is the basis of the tree of life we are discussing today. It shows a tree that is upside down, hanging from non-being. The fruit of the tree is the manifest or physical universe. This diagram was developed by Jewish mystics, and it has been expounded upon and studied by rabbinical scholars for many centuries. For a history of Kabbalah, please visit Wikipedia using this link. During the Renaissance, this diagram was adopted by Hermetic Kabbalah, the Western mystery tradition. The form I am using shows a particular version of the tree from Builders of the Adytum, also known as BOTA. This basic introduction includes a brief description of the Sephiroth and the paths between them. I will be referring to both the Hebrew and English names of the Sephiroth. Behind the tree of life are the three veils of the Absolute. Ein, meaning the no thing, Ein Sof, the limitless, and Ein Sof Our, limitless light. The Ein Sof Our, the limitless light, condenses into a point called Kether, the crown. This is the first of the Sephiroth, and it is the one about which very little can be said. It is the all in all, the one in all, and the all in one. It is above all opposites. At the time Kether is emanated, so are all the Sephiroth in a zigzag pattern known as the lightning flash. Kabbalists say that we live in four worlds: Atziluth, the archetypal world, or world of fire; Bria, the creative world, or world of water; Yetzirah, the world of formation, or air; and Asiya, the world of action, or earth. There is a tree in each of the four worlds, as you can see by this diagram. The Kether of one, that is the top Sephira of one, being the Malkuth of the next highest world. So the lowest Sephira in Yetzirah is the same point as the highest Sephira in Asiya, if that makes any sense to you. If not, well, there's a lot to be read on the internet about it. The supernal triad consists of the three uppermost Sephiroth on the tree of life: Kether, Chokmah, and Binah, known as the One, the Great Father, and the Great Mother, amongst other names. The first or topmost Sephira is called the crown. It is a white sphere representing unity. Because it unites all opposites, it is changeless. The second Sephira, known as wisdom, is emanated by Kether. The one emanates an active, projective energy. This energy projects itself to Binah, understanding, the third Sephira. Binah takes that energy and creates the unmanifest beingness, multiplying and breaking up that energy. She is the primal substance, or great sea. From Binah, the influence flows downward across the abyss to the egoic triad of Chesed, Geburah, and Tifereth. So those are the blue, red, and yellow spheres. The topmost ones were the white, gray, and black. Then we cross the abyss diagonally from the black sphere to the blue sphere. That's called the abyss, and it's known in Hermetic circles as the abyss we have to cross at some point in our spiritual development. But it comes down to Chesed, the blue sphere, and then moves to severity and then down to beauty. Chesed, mercy, is the blue sphere. In Chesed, the beneficent givingness of the universe is manifested. The next sephira is Geburah, severity, the cosmic will. Below it is Tifereth, beauty, the higher self of humanity. From the egoic triad, that's the blue, red, and yellow spheres, we move downward, outward, and westward. Those are all interchangeable terms in this system. To the personality triad of Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. Netzach, victory, the green sphere, symbolizes the desire nature. Hod, splendor, the orange sphere, is associated with the intellect. Yesod, foundation, the violet sphere, is called the vital or animal soul and the automatic consciousness. In Yesod are stored all the patterns that are automatically manifested in Malkuth, the lowest and most dense sphere on the tree, called the kingdom. Cosmically speaking, Chokmah, wisdom, is the sphere of the zodiac. It's the sphere of the zodiac. Then, starting with Bina, understanding, the black sphere, and downward, the Sephirot are the spheres of the activity of the heavenly bodies, including the sun and moon and the 5 visible ancient planets. Bina, understanding, represents the sphere of the activity of Saturn. And you can see I have a symbol of Saturn in the black sphere, or the black circle in this case. Chesed, mercy, is where Jupiter is active. In Geburah, severity, Mars has its activity. In Tifereth, the activity is that of the sun. In Netzach, victory, Venus is active. In Hod, splendor, it is Mercury. And in Yesod, it is the activity of the moon. Obviously, in Malkuth, we have the earth. And it's got 4 colors for the 4 mixed elements that make up our physical world. In the human being, the Sephirot are associated with parts of the body, and the chakras, or wheels of energy, associated with the etheric body. The etheric body associations are Kether, the crown, is located above the head and is associated with the crown chakra. Chokmah, wisdom, and Bina, understanding, are both correlated with the brow chakra. Chesed, mercy, and Geburah, severity, are associated with the chakra at the base of the throat. Tifereth, beauty, represents the heart chakra. Netzach, victory, and Hod, splendor, are aspects of the chakra above and behind the solar plexus. Yesod, foundation, represents the sacral chakra. Malkuth, the kingdom, is linked to the root chakra. In the physical body, Kether could be said to represent the entire brain or the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Chokmah is associated with the left lobe and Bina with the right lobe of the brain. Chesed is associated with the left side, in particular the shoulder, arm, and hand, and Geburah with the right side. Tifereth represents the heart. Hod and Netzach are linked with the left and right hips and legs. Yesod is associated with the reproductive system, and Malkuth is linked with the perineum and feet. From Kether, the divine influence, called Mezlah, descends through each of the Sephirot in the spheres numbered 1 through 10. This is the path of the lightning flash, or the sword. Rising from the physical plane is the feminine earth energy. This serpent power rises up through the tree, through all the subjective paths, without entering into the Sephirot, which are considered to be objective. So, when I'm talking about the circles, those are the Sephirot. Those are objective. In other words, they are the same no matter who is experiencing them. The paths between the circles are the paths that are connected with the 22 Hebrew letters, and the 22 major arcana of the tarot, and they are subjective. In other words, they're individualized. Your experience won't be the same as mine. So here we see the serpent rising up and the sword going down. The sword is that line that starts with a kind of a cross above the top and goes down in a zigzag pattern and goes all the way down to Malkuth, the bottom circle. There are 22 visible paths on the Tree of Life, each connecting two of the Sephiroth. In each tarot key, the two Sephiroth it links are hinted at in the images. The path of return in the Western mystery tradition moves upward from Malkuth, the lowest and most dense sphere of the Tree of Life, to Kether, or union with the One. The Tree of Life has 3 pillars. The right, as we look at the tree, is called the Pillar of Mercy, and it represents the past. It consists of the Sephiroth Wisdom, Mercy, and Victory. On the left is the Pillar of Severity, representing the future or the unknown. Its 3 Sephiroth are Understanding, Severity, and Splendor. In the middle is the Pillar of Mildness, representing the now, with 4 visible Sephiroth: Crown, Beauty, Foundation, and Kingdom. There is another invisible Sephira that goes in between there, and it is called Da'ath, and its meaning is higher knowledge. As we ascend the tree in meditations, we are working to balance all the opposites and thereby be centered in the middle pillar. We cannot avoid being on one side or the other as we work our way upward. There are lessons to be learned in each of the 32 paths, symbolized by the tarot key or the Sephira involved. For example, in Splendor, we are working with the intellect and the fears it projects onto the future. The paths symbolized by the tarot are associated with particular Sephiroth and lead into them. In the example of Splendor, the orange sphere, those keys leading, the paths leading to it are key 20, Judgment, and key 19, the Sun. You can see them, they're little tiny keys right on those paths below the orange sphere, one connecting it to the violet sphere and one connecting it to the bottom sphere. And that is how we travel backwards, either during this life in meditation or after life. That is how this tradition says things happen. The meditations on and realizations brought by these keys bring us to the point where we can do the work of Hod, Splendor. So if you look at this, you see stacked up 4 trees of life. And in each of the 10 Sephiroth in each of these trees is another tree. That's where we get the number 400. In each Sephira is another tree of life, so that there are 400 trees. Each of us is in one of the Sephiroth, in a tree, inside a Sephira, in one of the 4 worlds. So no one can know another's level of spiritual unfoldment. That knowledge is reserved for the Holy Guardian Angel and the Ascended Adepts or Masters, who will not divulge your status even if you ask them to. Now I'm going to recite the pattern on the trestle board. This is truth about the self. 0. All the power that ever was or will be is here, now. 1. I am a center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. So you see these are numbered 1 to 10. 0 is the Ein Sof hour, the limitless light, and then 1 is Kether. So we're patterning ourselves after the higher self. 2. Through me, its unfailing wisdom takes form in thought and word. 3. Filled with understanding of its perfect law, I am guided moment by moment along the path of liberation. 4. From the exhaustless riches of its limitless substance, I draw all things needful, both spiritual and material. 5. I recognize the manifestation of the undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. 6. In all things, great and small, I see the beauty of the divine expression. 7. Living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding, mine is the victorious life. 8. I look forward with confidence to the perfect realization of the eternal splendor of the limitless light. 9. In thought and word and deed, I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. 10. The kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. I recommend these books if you are interested in pursuing the Hermetic version of the Kabbalah. First is The Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune, The Work of the Kabbalist by Zev Ben Shimon Halevi, Kabbalah, An Introduction and Illumination for the World Today by Charles Ponce, and that one includes a lot of history and a lot of the Judaic forms of Kabbalah. The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order by Paul Foster Case, that speaks of the Rosicrucian grades which are associated with the Tree of Life. And The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. And that one includes the Kabbalah, but has many, many different traditions in it. So that concludes my talk.
Well, all I can say is I've been in this study for 3 years, but what you just did was amazing. It was amazing. What an incredibly deeply packed understanding of the Tree of Life. And I love that it was all in print as well, so that people could read it and listen. And if they couldn't hear you, then they could actually just read the text, which is helpful.
Well, he
pretty much kind of says it. The reason I'm asking the question quickly is I'm taking a class in real life on something called Science of Mind. Not important, but they use something in there called affirmative prayer. And if you look at what you were saying on the trestle board, it is almost exactly the same. And I find that interesting. Obviously, the person who wrote it in the early 1900s, and I imagine took it from there. But I'm trying to figure out. I'm not seeing the connect between the trestle board and the tree. That was where it was going.
Okay. Well,
Do you want to address that?
Sure. The pattern on the trestle board is a way of, first of all, connecting the numbers to the Sephirith. The crown is the primal will to good. So, 1, I am. And it's very interesting. It uses the I am that you have noted is very powerful. I am a center of expression. So it doesn't say I'm the big deal in the sky and you all are just those little peons below me. It just says I am one of us billions of centers of expression for the primal will to good. And the 0 is about the Ein Sof hour, which is the limitless light that lies behind the Tree of Life. And so when you recite this, and I know I recite it every day, I think Jai recites it every day, and when you do, after a while, it starts to program your subconscious mind. So it's connected by number. It's also connected by the key words. the second sephira is wisdom, and so it's 2. Through me, it's unfailing wisdom. So there's a key word for each sephira in the pattern. And the trestle board, I think I explained this earlier, but maybe I wasn't clear. The trestle board was a place where people would lay out skins or fabric or whatever to cut into shapes to make clothing or shoes. And the pattern itself would be incised in the top of this table so they could follow it when they were cutting. So we are cutting our cloth, the cloth of our personality level, to match the truth about the higher self, the one self of humankind.
Wonderful. So what I'd like to add as well is Enjah has the tree of life on her body. And what I was told is that I could walk up to the tree of life, say on this poster, and turn my body around and then back myself into the tree of life. And as you have heard, it represents different parts of our bodies, which is a pretty spectacular thing when you think about it. So I have a question about Paul Foster Case, and I'm wondering, how does something come to him? What does it mean that it came to him, and how did he manifest this? You know, I assume he was just an ordinary person having an ordinary life, and then suddenly, boom, it became extraordinary.
Okay, let me answer your question. I heard it. Paul Foster Case was far from an ordinary human being. He was a member of the Golden Dawn in England, and what the Golden Dawn did in the 1800s was they used their psychic contacts, as they called it, to recover the inner ideas, and they formed this new society. They got in touch with Egyptian and Atlantean and God only knows what all, and of course Jewish mysticism. And they had a tree of life. They set this up. The tree of life is ancient, but they made it into a Hermetic, that is Christian Kabbalah, instead of the pure Jewish Kabbalah. So it's linked with the alchemists and magic and the Rosicrucians and various orders like that. So Paul Foster Case was a member of that, and then he had a falling out with one of the people, and then he moved to New York City from London. Okay, so he was living in New York City when Master R, Saint Germain, visited him. He was, at that time, Paul Foster Case was a concert pianist. Master R visited him and stayed for a couple of days and gave him the seeds of all this amazing knowledge. The impact was enough so that he could write. He wrote several books and a whole lot of lessons and started this order called Builders of the Adytum. Building is big with the Masons, as I'm sure you know, and they are a form of Rosicrucianism. And what we're building is the adytum, the inner temple, the temple built without hands. You could say it was the heart, you could say it was the soul or the spirit, or you could say that it is the body of light. But anyway, we see ourselves as temples of the higher self or the Holy Spirit. And then he lived to be, 70-some, and he died in the 50s, and then the order was taken over by his secretary at the time, Ann Davies, and she also wrote a bunch of lessons. But he just received this because he was prepared. He was not, by any means, living an ordinary, he wasn't, like a steam fitter who suddenly became enlightened. No, he was seeking this knowledge actively, and he was pursuing his career as a concert pianist, but he had to give that up because this was just more work than he could do without then he could do alongside concert work.